Denzel Washington had not come to the conference that evening to make enemies. But as he stood backstage watching the crowded ballroom swell with political power players, media moguls, and billionaire donors, the calm resolve in his eyes masked an unshakable purpose that had been building for months. The chandeliers glinted against the crystal glasses and gold-trimmed drapery, the air thick with the aroma of expensive cologne, imported cigars, and the subtle tension of people who knew they were surrounded by sharks. At the far side of the room, Donald Trump was holding court, gesturing animatedly as he spun another half-true anecdote about his historic political victories, flanked by security who scanned the crowd like hawks. In a corner, Sean Diddy Combs leaned back in his seat, sunglasses on despite the dim light, whispering into the ear of a young influencer whose nervous laughter betrayed that she knew she was sitting in dangerous company. Denzel adjusted, his cufflinks feeling the weight of what he was about to do. For weeks, he had been quietly collecting proof videos, phone records, eyewitness accounts, all of it pointing to a toxic nexus between Diddy's private parties and some of the most corrupt figures in politics, and tonight, he intended to expose it all. But this wasn't just about Diddy, no. Tonight was about Trump, and the fact that the man who boasted endlessly about draining the swamp had been up to his neck in it, smiling for the cameras while swimming in the filth. A stagehand approached, whispering that the MC was ready to bring him on. Denzel nodded once, stepped into the blinding light, and walked toward the podium with the measured stride of a man who knew exactly how much chaos he was about to unleash. The applause was polite, but curious. Many in the room didn't understand why a Hollywood icon was headlining a political gala. He began calmly thanking the hosts, praising the veterans in the room, making light jokes that drew warm laughter. But then, like a storm gathering on a clear day, his tone shifted. His voice deepened, the pauses sharpened, and the eyes of the audience began to narrow, sensing the pivot. "You all know me as an actor," he said, "but tonight I'm not here to play a role. I'm here to tell the truth." He glanced toward Trump, whose smirk twitched almost imperceptibly, and then toward Diddy, who removed his sunglasses for the first time that night. "This truth," Denzel continued, "is about what happens when the lights go off and the cameras stop rolling, when deals are made in shadows, and when power protects predators." The ballroom grew still. He spoke of hidden mansions, of offshore bank accounts, of young lives lured into private events under false pretenses, only to find themselves trapped in nightmares. As murmurs spread, Trump's jaw tightened. Diddy's smile faded entirely, and then Denzel said it. "Donald, you were there, more than once, and I have the receipts." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The words hung in the air like a live grenade, and Trump's face flushed crimson. In the space of 19 seconds, the room went from polite applause to total pandemonium, chairs scraping, voices rising, security moving in, but Denzel didn't flinch. "I warned you," he said into the mic, locking eyes with Trump, "and I told you. I will not be silenced." Trump shot up from his seat so fast his chair skidded back into a startled aide, the sudden movement jolting the crowd into a frenzy of whispers, camera flashes, and shifting alliances in real time. His voice cracked the air like a whip as he barked, "That's a lie, a complete lie. Fake news. He's making this up because Hollywood hates me." The mic wasn't even in front of him, but his tone carried through the ballroom with the practiced projection of a man who'd made a career out of dominating a room. Denzel, still holding the podium, didn't so much as blink. His eyes followed Trump's every movement the way a trial lawyer watches a hostile witness unravel. "Donald," he said evenly, "you want to deny it here in front of all these people? You want to pretend you weren't at those parties? Should I play the video now?" That question landed like a hammer. A dozen heads turned toward the AV booth at the back of the room, where a young technician froze, waiting for some signal. Diddy shifted uncomfortably, pulling at his collar as if suddenly the room had gotten 10 degrees hotter. A finger toward Denzel. "You're a fraud, Washington. You think you can come in here and smear my name? You think anyone's going to believe you over me?" A nervous laugh escaped from somewhere in the crowd, and Trump's head snapped toward it like a predator scenting weakness. But the room wasn't laughing with him. It was laughing at the desperation leaking through his bravado. "I don't think," Denzel replied, his voice low but carrying "I know. And so does everyone who's seen what I've seen." He tapped the podium once, a subtle cue, and the first image lit up the giant screens behind him. Trump, unmistakable in a tailored Navy suit, standing beside Diddy at a lavish poolside gathering. The background littered with champagne bottles. And barely clothed women who looked barely past 20. Gasps exploded from every corner of the ballroom. Trump spun around to see the image, then wheeled back, hands up in mock outrage. "This proves nothing. I take pictures with everyone." Everyone. Denzel didn't interrupt. He let the murmurs build, let the air thicken with the collective realization that there was more. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said finally, "this is just the first of many." Another tap of the podium, and the image shifted to video. A dimly lit room, music thumping. Trump leaning in to whisper something into Diddy's ear while a young woman sits between them, looking at the floor. There was no audio, but the implication was suffocating. Trump lunged toward the podium, but two security men, not his, stepped in front of him. "You're not touching him," one of them said firmly. The MC was frozen in place, hands gripping his note cards like they might anchor him to reality. Diddy finally stood, removing his jacket, revealing sweat stains under his arms. "Denzel, you don't know what you're doing," he said, his voice almost a plea. "You're messing with people you can't mess with," Denzel cut in, his eyes locking on Diddy now. "The only thing I'm messing with is the truth you've been hiding." Someone in the back shouted, "Play the rest." Others joined in, their voices growing louder until it became a chant. The tech at the AV booth looked to Denzel, who gave the smallest nod. The next clip rolled grainy, but clear enough, showing a group of men in a lavish suite. Trump among them, laughing as a young man was shoved into a pool fully clothed, while a circle of older men jeered. The laughter in the video was cruel, and the faces in the ballroom now were not amused. Trump's complexion went from red to a sickly pale. "This is illegal," he roared. "You can't just show private illegal," Denzel's voice cut him off, ice cold. "What's illegal is what you and your friends did in those rooms." The silence that followed was heavier than any applause could have been. The eruption in the ballroom had already begun spilling beyond its walls before anyone inside realized it. Reporters who'd been invited to cover the gala's charity initiatives were now elbowing through the crowd, shoving microphones and camera lenses toward anyone who might comment, their phones already live-streaming the chaos to millions of viewers worldwide. Outside the venue, news vans screeched to a halt as producers screamed into headsets to cut to breaking news. Social media feeds detonated with clips of Trump's red-faced shouting, Diddy's sweat-soaked glare, and Denzel's calm, relentless delivery. Back inside, Trump's communications director bulldozed her way through a knot of guests, her expression somewhere between fury and dread. Whispering urgently into his ear, "We need to leave now." But Trump, drunk on his own defiance, refused to retreat. "If I walk out, they'll say I'm guilty." "I'm not guilty," he snapped, though his eyes darted toward the exits more than once. Diddy, meanwhile, had abandoned his seat entirely, and was pacing along the side wall, thumbing his phone so hard it looked like he might crack the screen, murmuring into it words too low for anyone to hear but laced with panic. Denzel saw all of it, the shifting eyes, the clenched jaws, the way power began to leak out of these men like air from a punctured tire, and pressed forward. "I haven't even shown you the worst of it," he said, voice unshaken, as another clip queued up on the screens. The room darkened slightly as the video filled the wall. A private yacht party. Champagne sprang into the air, a younger Trump laughing with Diddy as music blared in the background. The camera zoomed toward a doorway in the footage, and there, for just a moment, a young woman stumbled out. Her makeup smeared, her expression vacant. The camera caught enough for the implication to land like a thunderclap. A wave of uneasy murmurs rolled through the crowd, followed by the sound of someone knocking over a glass, the shatter echoing in the tense silence. "Cut it off," bellowed, but the AV tech ignored him, the clip continuing until it cut abruptly to black. In that darkness, every breath seemed amplified. Then the light snapped back, and Denzel was still at the podium, unmoved. "This isn't about politics," he said finally.
Ow.
This is about decency. This is about the kind of men we allow to sit at the highest tables while they hide their filth in the shadows. The applause began hesitantly, a few claps here and there, but it grew. And with it, the panic on Trump's face deepened. Cameras caught every twitch, every bead of sweat, and within minutes, news anchors around the world were interrupting regular programming to replay the confrontation in an endless loop. In the back of the room, a security guard leaned toward a colleague and muttered, "This is going to blow the roof off DC." It was, because even as Trump's team tried to spin it as a smear campaign, the evidence was too visceral to dismiss. Every television pundit knew this story would own the news cycle for weeks, maybe months, and every operative in the room knew alliances would fracture overnight. Then, just when it seemed the tension couldn't climb higher, Diddy made his move, striding toward the podium, not with the bluster of a man about to fight, but with the desperate posture of someone bargaining for survival. "We can talk about this," he said to Denzel in a low, urgent tone picked up by the hot mic. "Not here, not like this. You don't know how far this goes." But Denzel's reply was instant and lethal. "I know exactly how far it goes. And so will everyone else."